To all who are present at the FEU Roosevelt Research Conference 2024, a pleasant day to everyone. My name is Jescelyn D. Pangan, an MSci-Ed biological student of Caraga State University, Ampayon, Butuan City, and I'm here to present to you my thesis entitled The Effectiveness of REALIA as a Pedagogical Tool on Enhancing Science Learning Outcomes of Grade 7 Students. This study was conducted at Mabuhay National High School, Mabuhay Prosperidad, Agusan del Sur, last February 2024. It is well acknowledged that the use of realia in the teaching and learning process is well improved. Students will have a meaningful life experience as they are about to draw conclusions and links to what was really happening inside the classroom to the real life situation. To make the lesson more engaging, we use actual things. The use of realia in the classroom instruction have a positive impact since it allows the learners to remember what they are learning. As we are now in the 21st century, the Philippine educational system had been constantly changing its curricula to reflect contemporary developments. The fundamental driver of that change is the provision of higher education, especially with K-12, in attaining the best possible result of academic performance of the students. Due to the latest findings of the Program for International Student Assessment, or PISA, in the year 2022, which evaluated the students in their field of science, the Philippines ranked at the bottom 10 out of 81 participating countries, especially in the field of reading comprehension, math, and science. This study was conducted based on SMEA 2023 of Mabuhay National High School and also the least learned competencies during the second quarter school year 2022 to 2023. Theoretical framework. This study is being supported by several theories and concepts dealing with Edgar Dale's code of learning and Jerome Bruner's constructivism and discovery learning. Edgar Dale theorized that learners retain more information by what they do as opposed to what is heard, read, or observed. His research led to the development of the cone of experience. This means that the more senses that are involved, the more learning or comprehension the students will get. This is the schematic diagram of the use of realia in the classroom setting. First, of course, this is based from the least learned competencies in Biology 7, which are the following: differentiate plant and animal cells according to presence or absence of certain organelles, and of course explain why the cell is considered the basic structural and functional unit of all organisms. Because of this, the researcher will constructed her own realia based on the NLLC in Biology 7, validation of self-made realia according to its validity, durability, and scientific skills. As a result, we have here the effectiveness of realia, particularly using the plant cell and animal cell. This is now the before and after of the construction of the self-made intervention material, which is the realia. Now we have four statements of the problems. For problem 1, what are the criteria in using the realia according to validity of realia, durability, and scientific skills? We also have problem 2, is there a significant difference between the realia approach group's pre-test, post-test score from that of the conventional approach group's respondents? Problem 3, what is the correlation between the three criteria in using the realia? Problem 4, how effective is the use of realia in teaching biology? We have here the methodology. This is a quantitative research since it focuses on quantifying the collection and analysis of data. In this study, the data are the pre-test and post-test scores of the students. This is also quasi-experimental since it compares the effectiveness of realia approach to the traditional approach of teaching science among the respondents. The sampling method we have here, we have two groups. Each group will contain 30 respondents. For the first group, we have control group, which will be taught using the traditional approach. And the second group, which also has 30 respondents, is the experimental group, or which is taught using the realia approach. Now we have the research instrument. The instrument that the researcher used was adapted from Suklinan Deped Caraga. This was made and validated by Miss Jane A. Malgazo. She was a student from Calamba National High School. This instrument was already validated and had undergone quality assurance from the experts. The data gathering, this study was carried out at the workstation of the researcher. The researcher guaranteed the respondents' confidentiality. And also, before and after the research was conducted, the researcher also asked the help from the different advisors of both sections. And I also maintained the confidentiality of the information by letting the students and the parents as well fill in the research confidentiality form. For the method of analysis, we have here the mean. This is used to find the average of the pretest and post-test scores of the two groups. Number two is the standard deviation, in which this is used to find the variance of both the controlled and the experimental group. Number three is the independent t-test, in which this was used to compare the respondents' pre-test and post-test scores between the two groups, which are the controlled and experimental group. And lastly, I use the ANCOVA because this is to ascertain how the REALIA technique affects the respondents' scores. So for the findings for problem 1, which talks about the summary of the validation of REALIA. So we have here factor A, the content, factor B, other findings, and factor C is the additional requirement for manipulative. All the factors have a mean of 3.73, 4, and also 3.73, which has a descriptive remarks of very satisfactory. This means that for the factor A, we have 4 means an indicator 1, 6, and 7 as very satisfactory. This means that the visuals are very suitable to the intended learner. For factor B, the highest is all of the indicators got 4 as their mean, which means that there are no errors in the intervention material that was used. For factor C, additional requirement for manipulative, indicator 1, 5, and 6 got the highest, which is 4 as their mean. That means the manipulative is really intended for the audience and it is also safe to use. The lowest is 3, which is the indicator 2, in which it states activities are summarized, extension activities are provided. So for factor ABC, we have an overall mean of 3.82, which also have a descriptive remarks of very satisfactory. Then we have another for problem 1, the summary of durability of REALIA. So we have here the highest is indicator 4 and 5 with very satisfactory. This means that the material passed the environmental testing. It has an overall mean of 3.53, again with a descriptive rating of very satisfactory. For table 4, this talks about the summary of scientific skills. The highest are indicator 1, 2, 3, and 4 with 3.67 as its mean, which means that it is very satisfactory. This also indicates that students were able to gain their factual knowledge, increase their comprehension with the use of this intervention material. Only the indicator 5 and 6 has the lowest mean of 3, which has a descriptive rating of satisfactory, based on developing skills in expressing oneself by manipulating the material. It has an overall mean of 3.43, which is again very satisfactory. For problem 2, which talks about the significant difference between the REALIA and the traditional approach group, we used here table 5, ANOVA single factor test for difference. And looking at this table, we can see that all of the groups have 30 respondents. These are the summary of the row scores of the pretest and post-test scores, the average, and the variance. So we have 10.39 as the highest in the controlled post-test, which means that their scores are dispersed. and the lowest is the experimental post-test with 5.56 as their variance. So we have here the table 6, the significant difference in students' achievement between and among groups. So we have here the source of variation between groups and within groups, the sum of the squares, the difference, and then we have the mean square, the F value, the P value, and the F critical. So in here, we have the table 9, significant difference in students' achievement when taught using the two teaching methods. So we focus our attention here in the post-test scores, given the fact that we are going to compare the traditional and the REALIA approach group. The F value here is 8.028, the P value is 0.06, which is less than the level of significance that we used as 0.05. So p-value here is the determinant whether to accept or reject the null hypothesis. In this way, the decision should be reject the null hypothesis because the conclusion, there is really a significant difference between the students you taught using the REALIA approach group and the traditional approach. For problem number 3, which talks about the correlation of the variables, we have here the table 5. For validity and durability, we have the p-value of 0.50, validity and scientific scale 0.80, durability and scientific scale is again 0.23. This is tested at 0.05 level of significance. This only means that the remarks there is no significant difference or correlation between the three variables. So let's go to problem number 4, which talks about the effectiveness of REALIA in teaching Science 7. We have here the Table 9 mean gain score of students from their pretest and post-test mean scores when taught using the two teaching methods. So as we have here, REALIA and traditional approach groups, 30 respondents. We have the mean score according to their pretest scores, post-test scores, and gain scores. The standard deviation clearly states that the REALIA have 5.57 and traditional approach is 10.39, which means that the scores in the group that is taught using the traditional method is widely spread compared to the REALIA approach group. Now let's proceed to the conclusion of this study. Validity of REALIA conveyed the message of the subject or topic. Appropriateness of the intervention for educational purposes is evident. Students learn best while they actually do the thing rather than just passively learning, because with the use of REALIA as intervention material, they are able to use multiple senses. Results reveal that there is a significant difference between the groups taught using traditional and REALIA approach group. The latter part proves to have increased the students' performance in science. In this study, the respondents in the experimental group were able to manipulate the plant and animal cell, which made it easier for them to fully grasp the concept of the topic because they are able to be engaged in the lesson actively by using and manipulating the real thing. It also enhances their collaboration, active participation, peer tutoring, and individual learning through the various activities presented along with the manipulative. This intervention material is proved to be effective in enhancing science learning outcomes of grade 7 students. As a recommendation, students may learn to adapt to the different teaching strategies in order to find what is best suited for their learning process. Teachers may choose the right REALIA for a particular topic because in choosing the right REALIA, we must consider different factors such as student factor, the content factor also, and the curriculum as well. Students may manage their time and be flexible enough to use the manipulative at the same time answer the activities provided. Teachers may learn to use techniques to encourage students' creativity by involving senses. Again, the more senses that are involved in learning, the more comprehension the students will get. So they will be able to fully grasp the meaning of the lesson, and also inculcate in their minds as to how they are going to relate this one to their real life. The school may conduct a training program on the use of manipulatives as a way to enhance the students' academic performance, specifically in the field of science. So I guess that is all for my thesis presentation. Thank you so much for listening, and mabuhay!